Yes. Just previously, when I was doing the long Grimnyr Kitbash video, I left this Corv to do off screen. Now it's had its mohawk put on as well. And as you can see, I'm just blue tacked it on the thing. I deliberately didn't put this on my Grimnyr thinking, you know, obviously I'd replace the beak with something dragon-like and mohawky. But I thought, with this thing on his back, it's probably too busy. I probably won't be able to put it on. But then I thought about it a little more, and I actually think I can. So this will be a shorter video than the last, about how I add that to the conversion. Let's see how I do. Alrighty. Now, I've got this piece. It's not the most unique, but in its form of combination that I'll be doing today, I think it will be unique enough from the rest of the force that it won't look too silly. So I'll just clean it up, and I'll show you how I intend to cut it and prepare it to go with this. Now, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to stick the back bit in. I might just put that back and then put the backpack bit onto it, in which case I'll probably glue this bit back on. But we'll see. I also found this. I thought I could take the flamey bit off the top of this and put it on his staff. Just that way, there's that continual fire theme across all of my Votann characters. Now, I probably didn't need to clean that bit of it up because I'm not going to be using that bit. I'm just using the top. So we'll try and... So I'll just use my clippers for that. Just cut that off like that. Great. That's nice. Clean it up a bit. Flatten that out. Alright, I'll sit that there, because that's another bit I can add in a little while. When will this model be done? See, that's what I'm thinking of doing. Just cutting that right there, because what we need is that bit to go in where this great bit is. So we need to cut that bit out and stick that in there, so the dragon head's up there. Alright. So what I'd probably do is try and save this particular beak one. That looks really cool, and I could use that on a Space Marine conversion, I think, for my army. I have a bit of a Griffin theme going on, so that bird head could be quite useful. Smooth that out. Take that little bit off there as well. Now, I don't know how much of these bits I'll have to cut off, but I'm guessing at least the first two. So I'll take them off now, presuming that I may have to take the third one off as well. Now, if that sits up under there, that goes to there, so I need to smooth this bit out. And I need to cut basically that bit off. So we'll do that. Just like that. It's probably not the most accurate way of doing it, but I'll just try and smooth that a bit. Okay. Now I need to do the curvy bit here. I need to cut into there like that. I need to cut into here. So break that out. There we are. Now clean that up with my hobby knife a little. Again, don't cut towards yourself like I am. I have practiced this so many times. I personally believe it gives me more control. Certain teachers in the hobby, I guess, have told me the same thing, but if you're not experienced and you don't have the years of that, controlling of the blade, I would recommend that you always then cut away from yourself. That way you don't bring the blade towards yourself and cause yourself to bleed and get cut and all of that nonsense. It's no fun cleaning blood off your plastic minis, particularly if they're, you've already built part of it and painted it or something, and then you get blood coming out. That's even worse. Wrecks your paint job. Ever had that happen? Cut yourself and you got a miniature that you finished just nearby and then that gets drenched in your blood? I've had that happen once. Just the once. Many years ago. And it didn't turn out very well for that miniature. I had to strip it and redo it. I'm just trying to keep that angle under here as well so that it matches with that bit a bit. That would be nice. But see how I've got that big gap under there? I'm really not liking that. What can I do? Can I smooth that out a bit and sort of cut into here a bit more? Probably. I'm just experimenting with this. I've got a couple more of these spare, so if I stuff up, I can try again. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to cut the third one off. This bit's got to be much smoother. I've got to sort of straighten that out. Which is a real pain. I didn't want to have to cut into this bit again like that, but it appears I have to. How does that go now? That's better. There's less of a gap. And this bit needs to be arched out. So instead of arching inward, we're going to arch it back out. So cut that, smooth it all out. And then I think cut that third one off there. Yep, definitely. Cutting that one off. Alrighty. There we go. Let's clear up some of the crap off the desk there. Get it out of the way. Sweaty hands sticking to all the little offcuts, which is annoying. But alright, we've basically got that how we want it, don't we? Basically. Yeah, maybe even just taking off the end of that lip. That bit, because that can just be molded into that side of it. Yeah, that fits a little nicer. Yeah, much smaller gaps now. Hardly anything to it. I like that. It just takes a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of preparation. Always good, like I've been doing, to do those little dry fits and just adjust and see where you need to cut and do that. See, look, now I've got the whole mohawk thing happening up on this. It's a nice thick mohawk, and with that sort of great bit that was there, sort of covers along with the armor, sort of makes it look right. Anyway, I think that looks pretty good. Now, what I'm going to do is take this off the back here. As you can see, I've just stuck it on with blue tape. I'm just going to see how that sits in. Right, it sits right up the top like that. Right, that's cool. But if that goes on the back of this, how's that going to look? Let's give it a try. Let's take a little bit of that blue tack first. Just a bit. And try dry fitting that in place. And I think that's the better angle for it to sit at. Now the problem I find is if this goes on, I think it's a bit too far back. Clearly. So there's a couple of options there. Is it worth cutting the center bit out of this backpack and sliding it on either side of that central part? So that comes up and out of it? I do wonder. If I give that a try, I can't really go back. Alright, let's give it a try. I'm just cutting into here. I'm using this side to hold the blade and just sort of hold it straight and cut. Any detail that's a bit stuffed up, I will go over with putty and things of that nature at some stage to better fill it in, cover it up, etc. Now that's cut out regardless of what happens now. So let's just see if I can cut this just so it fits on either side of the central bit here. Because if I do, I think I've got to cut these bits flat, for instance, these raised little things. Cut that right back, all in one go. I'll smooth it off with the knife in a minute. Do the same on this side. Because I reckon if I can get this to stick on like this, that's probably going to be the better way to do it, rather than cutting this down further, trying to get it to stick in at the bottom of the back of that. But yeah, it might get a bit messy. So I think this will do it. Now, either I did a really good job kit bashing this thing, so to speak, and now I've really stuffed it up, or I've enhanced it. Let's see how it turns out. I hope I've enhanced it. I really do. Because, it's not the cheapest of converters, but again, not the most expensive by far. I've got to cut that lip, though, off of that as well. So I've got to cut into there, into there, into that. Just get it all gone. That way there's a little bit more space for things. And I think actually what I might do is just gently start slicing this at an angle on this side, on the inside, just to, well, it'll help me clean this up a bit, but at the same time, it's giving me a little bit more room to play with, I think, in fitting this on in such a way that hopefully doesn't damage anything. Just makes it look good. Alright, now, let's try this dry fitting. Soon we'll be properly finished with my Lord Grimnyr instead of half-arsing it. Yeah, okay, that's up on there. We want that to look, well, at the correct angle. So that's actually got to be like that. That's got to be like that. So that he's at the right angle and that's at the right angle and that's not bending in the wrong way or anything. No, not too much. A little bit more that way. There we go. That looks better. Alright. Now, can I establish that on that? Yeah, still not quite right, is it? What can I do? I'm curious. Can I put that closer? I think I could. Here we go. Here goes nothing. Cutting that there. Alright. Now, that's a risky move. I don't normally go to this sort of, oh, will this work? Will this work extent? But I really think I can get this to work somehow. So let's see how we go. Let's try and make this a little smaller. need things to fit a little more flush, a little closer, a little less gap. So let's just see that on there. Oh, that's very close to his head. Let's raise it a little. So it's just above his hood. I think that looks good like that. Alright. Then we can whack this on his back, and I think that will look a bit better than it did. But it's still a little further back than I'd like. It really is. How else I could fix that? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't want it sitting up too high like that, because that looks silly. I think it flush more to his back looks better. So let's try. I might have to cut it the way I didn't want to. Let's try filling the gap basically with some blue tack. Doesn't matter that that's been cut back a little. It is frustrating, but it's alright. Can still stick that back on, in theory. Let's put a little bit more blue tack in, so it reaches a bit further. Put that on, just like that. Alright, so that's in the right place for it, I think. However, I need that to go down that gap. Can I do it? I think I can. So cut that off. Sorry. Getting things right off the camera there. Way off. I'm just kind of rushing this, actually. I just want it done. Sometimes I get like this, where like I'll build something and I'll be like, oh, I just thought of how to make it a little bit better, and then blah, 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 and then I've got to sit there and do it. And it's like, oh, I rush it then. And that's when I usually make some mistakes, to be honest. So I'm hoping this goes well and not badly. Cut this little whatsy bit off. I'm sorry this isn't a very well constructed video or video series on this Grimnyr, but I am just trying to get things to sit together that really don't sit together. Let's do that. Now, if that went onto there and glued onto the back of that, like that, would that be as doable-ish? But it looks a bit funny. So maybe if I shorten it a tiny bit as well. Have that sit out off of his back a little, so it's not quite leaning as forward as him, and then that could sit coming out the back of it a bit more. Alright, a tiny bit more blue tack, I think. And that'll give me an idea of how much green stuff I might need, or milliput I might need. I think I'll use green stuff for this. Hidden and things. Let's put that on. Alright. Like that. Just use this to flatten some of that blue tack for a sec. Obviously that looks pretty bad at the back with the blue tack like that. That's not how it's going to remain. And see how I've got that split in it now? I reckon I could sit that in at that angle, sort of thing, or something. Like that. And it will still look like these guys. Anyway, just a thought. Now I get that on that bit of blue tack at the back. Just like that. And that goes on like that. And that goes like that. Now that looks okay, I think, but it's too it needs to be sitting even that little bit further back. That little bit, just that little bit. So that needs to be at that angle. Alright, like that. I think. And that needs to go like that. Yeah, I think so. I think something like that is where it's at. Obviously that'll all be glued in place and the putty will be done. I think that looks good. That's closer to what I wanted. He's got the mohawk. is in motion. He's leaning over all of it. I think he looks great like that. I really do. I like that. Really like that. So we've got him like this. And fix that up on the back somehow at some stage. But what I need to do as well is this little bit. A little flame rune. Now, I don't want to damage how this looks, like the staff. So, I don't think sticking it straight on like that would be any good. I think I need to cut perhaps more of this down before trying to stick it on. So what I'll do is I'll gently go around like this. Just sort of get it at a bit of a better angle. Now, it'd be good if I have my files at the ready, because then I could just file that, make that nice and round and thin. So it's a little smaller, sort of area where it connects. But that's okay. I'll deal with this as it is. Alrighty. Let's try and shorten that down just a little bit. Just that little bit. Yeah, it looks a little better. Let's just see if I cannot get that on there. Yeah, still need some work. What I might do actually is just cut it right down to the rune. Yeah, why not? Just cut it right down to the rune. Cut this little bit off the back. Smooth that out. Just going to do that. That'll do. Again, I can putty and liquid green stuff and whatever else I need to do. Like Kirioth said on the painting phase, if anyone was watching it, if you weren't watching it, I highly recommend it. But Kirioth was on the painting phase. You should be watching the painting phase anyway. But he was on there recently, and he said that he felt that he was one of the only people buying, liquid green stuff and, liking the product and keeping it in stock in stores. And I feel a bit that way myself with it a bit, I must admit. And yeah, I think that's the rune on the top of the head too of the staff. If you can, well, I don't want to knock it over. Yeah, that gives you the model now. That's even better, is it not? That's cooler, is it not? Than how I just had it before. It's got the extra bit with the mohawk and the little rune up on the staff. Still maintaining the cool new backpack from the from the code right, from the Kharadron Overlords kit. Yeah, that's it. That's them. Yeah, just some gaps to fill and some putty to put in. Don't need to show you that bit, but yeah, you get the idea. I'm really happy with this model, even more pleased with it now than I was at the end of the last video. Again, I thank you all for coming and checking this out and taking interest in my Kitbash and me adjusting the Kitbash to be even more Kitbashed, I guess. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. I've been your host, Matt the Hat, and I'll catch you in the next video.